very happy Friday to you, and thanks so much for joining us on UpNorthLive Unscripted at 6:30. Well, we ended the work week a little different than how we started. It's warming up a bit, and some of us even saw some sunshine today, and that made for a beautiful sunset in some areas. We'll see that when we take Joe's camera. I have a nice little background of the sunset in Cadillac. There it is.
Yeah.
Beautiful. So, Joe, more warm temperatures this weekend?
Yeah, a little warmer. It'll be similar tomorrow, kind of like today with 20s, but then we'll get into the 30s. It'll be about 10 degrees warmer Sunday, and then it will kind of stay there, maybe even around 40 in some spots early next week. So it's not a bad thing. I know we're only in late February, but it's not a bad thing, I think, to melt a little bit of the snow.
I think we need it right now. There's just so much snow everywhere.
Yeah, I was trying to pull out on M72 today at one of the intersections, and it was just, it's like trying to look out. You know what I'm talking about.
It's so difficult, yep.
So we'll see a little bit of melting coming up here. Look at that. And we start the work week off on Monday. I know it's, you don't want to think about that.
We don't want to think about that.
but maybe a little messy in a couple spots. So we'll talk about that too a little later.
All right. Thanks so much, Joe. One of our top local stories today, the protection of the Great Lakes fishery is in sudden flux. So after federal employees who kill invasive sea lamprey were fired this week, UpNorthLive's Daniel Zivian spoke with environmental organizations who are sounding the alarm and have to act fast.
The beginning of the optimism has been that everyone seems to share the same end goal, which is to make the program work.
Some hope after a stressful trip to Washington this week for the Great Lakes Fishery Commission, a treaty organization shared between the U.S. and Canada. Over the weekend, the commission learned that 12 workers at the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service were let go. The boots on the ground in the fight against invasive sea lamprey.
They execute the actual treatments in the waterways that are known to control and kill sea lamprey. And pretty simple, we can't do it without them. This is not the kind of program that happens behind a desk. It's not something that can happen from afar.
McClinchy says they know exactly what happens without the program, having scaled it back by 75% in the height of COVID.
We saw in places lamprey populations go up by about 300%. So the impact is immediate, and people understand that. And of course, as I mentioned, you can't run a program without good, qualified, skilled people on the ground.
The commission met with lawmakers who, in fiscal year 24, put $20 million toward lamprey control. It's a large sum, but McClinchy says the fishery is worth $5 billion for the region. Regional groups like the Tip of the Mitt watershed are worried that the federal cuts will affect them too.
Our organization is largely grant funded. We need that grant funding in order to actually conduct our work, in order to work on things like invasive species education, to look at restoration projects where we are opening up fish passage, reducing erosion.
In Petoskey, Daniel Zivian, UpNorthLive News.
And Daniel is joining us live now for more on this story. Let's turn things over to him. Daniel, thanks so much for joining us. One thing that I don't think we really made clear is, why did these workers get fired?
Well, that is a good question, and it's a question that the commission also has. Now, of course, there are a lot of national stories coming out of Washington being reported by national reporters regarding Trump administration cuts or referencing the Department of Government Efficiency. Mm-hmm. I don't know all of that information for myself. But you know who went to Washington was the commission. Right. So I asked Greg, well, when you were in Washington, did you speak to anyone who could tell you why this program saw cuts? And he said no, he could not get an indication on that. He felt very positive talking to the lawmakers who will ultimately make the budget appropriations when the time comes for that. And of course, they're working on the budget right now. I'm sure we're going to see some stories coming out of Washington on that soon. But no, he could not get an answer, from the executive on what led to this. In his opinion, on the record, he figures he doesn't figure that it's anything malicious or anything like that. It's quite possible this just got caught up. But saying anything more than that would amount to pure speculation.
Sure. So at this point, we don't know why this particular department had some cuts, but we do know the cuts are coming from the Trump administration.
Well, we only know so much, and that's just because the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service did not actually get back to me. I did call them. I actually spoke directly with someone on the phone, but I didn't hear anything further for the rest of the day. But by default, they would be coming from somewhere in the administration, either from whoever is running Fish and Wildlife. It could be the new Secretary of the Interior. It could be the Department of Government Efficiency. But again, there are so many different possibilities that, it is essentially just a guessing game at this point.
Right. So still a lot of unknowns, but what is known is the impact that these cuts will have on this program.
Absolutely. This is what, for all of this talk about, when you see these national stories, there's a lot of discussion about, well, if you cut this program, then this might happen. And there's a lot of people concerned about these things. In this particular case, we know exactly what would happen if this particular program was cut, because it was scaled back during COVID. And during 2020, Greg said it was up to a 75% scale back, and it was a 25% scale back in 2021. Not as much, but they still saw, 300%, he said in the news package, 300% growth in sea lamprey population in certain places. And again, they're checking all over the Great Lakes. And then that was a very short amount of time. If you stop this program in the long term, all of this progress they've been making on the sea lamprey issue goes away, potentially. I mean, I say potentially, but again, in this case, there's previous data.
Right. And we know how dangerous sea lamprey are to our native species here in the Great Lakes. So I'm sure this is an issue that has some lawmakers here in Michigan a little worried, right?
Well, that is something we still actually have to figure out. I reached out to several lawmakers. The only one who got back to me was John Molinar. And he's irrelevant, along with Congressman Bergman, because the workers that were let go would appear to have been mostly based in Ludington, which is in Molinar's district, and Marquette, which of course is in the Upper Peninsula in Bergman's territory. So I did get a statement from Congressman Molinar, who said, quote, "I have long supported funding the Great Lakes Restoration Initiative, including the ongoing efforts to control invasive sea lamprey. I understand the concerns regarding the recent hiring freeze for the Fish and Wildlife Service, and I'm committed to working with the Trump administration to ensure our Great Lakes are protected." I ought to point out the word hiring freeze there is pretty important. Of course, there's the full-time employees that were let go, but in season, Greg said that their season starts in April. There are seasonal workers who help out. A hiring freeze also cuts off that pipeline of potential help.
So Congressman Molinar wasn't even directly addressing these cuts, but more so the hiring freeze.
Yeah, at least in this particular email that I did eventually get back, it is a pretty complicated situation. He's probably, just like the commission, he is probably holding his cards close to his chest. Greg told me that he met with all of those, lawmakers, and Molinar was probably one of them. But you'll notice that what actual strategies the commission wants to put in place didn't get brought up in the story. And that's because when I asked Greg McClinchy about that, he said, we just got back from Washington. We're just starting to work this out, and we really don't want to, give the game away on that particular point just yet. So the most he could tell me was what I started the piece off with, is that after these conversations, which took place after he got the news about the cuts, he's feeling cautiously optimistic.
Okay, so right now the next steps that the commission could take are uncertain at this point.
Yeah, uncertain is kind of the whole atmosphere among not just them, but all of these different regional organizations. It's not a matter of what they do know, it's a matter of what they don't. Things are just not clear yet.
Anything else, Daniel, that you want to mention that we haven't discussed yet that you think is an important part of your story?
The nature of the commission is a pretty interesting thing. It's, it seems to be a nonprofit at first glance, but of course it's a bit more complicated than that. It's a binational treaty organization between the US and Canada. So, these guys represent all of these, they work with all these different constituent agencies. And for people concerned about efficiency, one of the problems is in the treaty that created this organization. This is what Greg told me. The treaty actually recommends for this commission, instead of building up its own bureaucracy, to contract other agencies like U.S. Fish and Wildlife. Right. They've been doing things by the book this entire time. And of course, there's just the fact that, it's $20 million to try and get rid of all these sea lampreys. That's the budget appropriation from fiscal year 24. But again, $5 billion fishery. We're talking about the entire service economy up here in our neck of the woods has to do with this.
That's kind of crazy when you put it into perspective like that. But Daniel, thanks so much for joining us. We really appreciate it. And like you mentioned, still a lot of uncertainty. So once we do maybe get some more answers, I'm sure this is a story that we will keep you folks at home updated on. But let's switch things over to a different story out of Grand Traverse County. So and this relates to everyone in northern Michigan. Chances are you're pretty tired of shoveling all the snow this winter, but local first responders are asking you to do a little bit more because they say that effort could save minutes when seconds matter the most. Here's Mark Chalette with the story.
At the Old Mission Fire Station, training day, an opportunity for firefighters to polish their skills so that they can get into your house quickly in an emergency.
Time is of the essence, whether it's a medical, whether it's a fire.
When minutes matter, speed counts, so they practice what they can. But when the snow piles up, they ask all of us to help them out.
Having proper address signs, clearing driveways, clearing sidewalks, clearing a hydrant next to you will greatly enhance our ability to do our job to deliver a service to our residents.
Peninsula Township isn't alone in that request that homeowners take a little time to make sure their homes and their neighborhoods are ready for their response.
It makes a huge difference.
Right now, there's a big push underway from Northern Michigan fire departments asking residents to find their nearest fire hydrant and clear it out.
Ideally, it's about 3-foot radius around the hydrant and a path from the street to the hydrant itself wide enough for us to be able to get supply hose connected to the hydrant.
When firefighters arrive to a scene and have this instead of this, they can grab hoses instead of shovels.
Especially with the new construction now and how quick fire develops, fire, that can change rapidly for us and can be the difference of a small fire in a trash can to a well-developed fire. The last thing we want to do when we get there is have to start digging hydrants out.
They say it saves critical minutes, but the reality is they don't have the staff or the time to clean them all out themselves.
Metro has over 2,200 hydrants in our response area, and just being able to keep those clear is paramount.
So they, and chances are your nearest fire department, are asking for you to adopt and clear out your nearest fire hydrant, as well as making sure you have a clear, snow-free path into your house should they need to get to you. But getting into your house or to your hydrant isn't the beginning. It's back to Old Mission and back to the importance of them finding you fast.
In Peninsula Township, the fire department has these green reflective signs. They have address numbers on both sides, front and back, so they can be seen in any direction of travel. The fire department will sell these. We sell them for $15 a sign.
With more and more mailboxes being buried and house numbers hidden, they say these can help first responders find you quickly.
In order for us to get to you quickly and safely and efficiently, having this in front of your home, identifying your driveway, having the proper address numbers on your home is going to greatly enhance our ability to get to you quickly.
They work in a profession where minutes matter, and the snow impacts their timing. They train to overcome what they can, but ask that homeowners help them out to limit damage and potentially save lives.
It can make a huge difference not only in your house, but also for our responders as well. Like I said, a quicker knock on a fire is good all the way around.
All right, before we take a break, the Mansalona Food Pantry is in need of some volunteers to help with providing food for the 700 families it serves. Mansalona Food Pantry is asking the community to become a volunteer at the pantry. The pantry is open on Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays from 9 in the morning until 4 p.m. And due to the growing need in the community, the pantry wants to also be open on Saturdays.
It was eye-opening when I became part of the help to see how much food has actually moved through the community through these doors. We have people come in every day that we are open. Sometimes they line the doorways when we're waiting for the trucks to unload because they're in need. And it would be such a disservice to our area to not be able to help give the people in need food.
And Kraft says if anyone is interested in becoming a volunteer, they can call the pantry. She also says if someone would like to help but maybe is not able to volunteer their time, the pantry is always in need of food or monetary donations. All right, let's take a quick commercial break, but coming up in just a couple of minutes, our chief meteorologist, Joe Charlevoix, will have a much more detailed look at your forecast for the weekend. Stay with us.
I'm Jada Johnson from Big Boys TV, and the Fish and Game Report is sponsored by Johnson's Propane.
Welcome back, everyone, and congratulations on making it to Friday. The weekend is right around the corner. Sounds like it'll be a very good weekend if you have to travel, and also a good weekend for some more melting. I know we talked about earlier, so much snow. We could use a little bit of melting. Maybe not the best weekend, though, if you are a fan of outdoor winter activities. Right, Joe?
Yeah, it looks like a decent weekend. It'll be cloudy, though. Although look at that camera. Isn't that nice?
Beautiful.
Late day sunshine, which
Love
we've had a few clouds now. Earlier in the day, we had a lot of sunshine. There are some clouds drifting in, but you know what? That's Lake Cadillac, by the way. A nice end to the day. Nice end to the weekend. And you can see that there. That is looking up to the west. Sunset was about a half hour ago. But gosh, we're closing in here on 7 o'clock and still a fair amount of daylight. Lots of snow on the ground. Here's what it looks like. Now, a week from now, might look a little different. We probably are going to lose a little bit of this, not all of it. Don't believe me. But we are going to warm up into the 30s, maybe even a few low 40s next week. So it will do a little bit of a number on the snowpack. But again, cross-country skiing, snowmobiling this weekend looks like really good conditions for that. Here's a look at our temperatures across the north. You can see we're in the 20s to around 30 degrees. It's a little warmer than it was earlier in the week. Traverse City right now, 30. Grayling the same, 30 degrees there, with temperatures generally in the mid and upper 20s. There's a little bit of cloud cover drifting through. No snow with this. There it is. And these are high, thin clouds. We just showed you the camera there in Cadillac. Obviously, still quite a bit of clearing. But if we look further out west, there's nothing going on anywhere even close to us heading our way. So it is pretty quiet. Way out in the Pacific Northwest, we do have some, you can see another system coming on shore there in the Cascade Range around Seattle. that area, but we won't see anything like that until the early part of next week. So let's run out Stormcast. Here it is. Pretty cloudy tonight through tomorrow. There's our Saturday afternoon. You might run into a flurry from Alpena up toward Sheboygan, Mackinac City, and parts of the UP. I mean, the chance isn't zero, but it's not all that great either. And then we'll head into Sunday, pretty cloudy, maybe a flurry or two Sunday, just kind of a cloudy day. Highs will be in the 30s, and we do expect a little bit of melting. Now, our next chance for some snow, see that? That rolls in late Sunday night, early Monday. Could get a quick burst of snow, especially north, and then this will move on and mix with rain and then depart the area by the afternoon. So there's that. That's Monday afternoon, maybe a couple sprinkles or a little drizzle. So here's our forecast for tomorrow. Rather cloudy, a flurry or two mainly north and east, temperatures in the 20s. And then Sunday, highs in the 30s, cloudy skies once again. It'll be about 10 degrees warmer than Saturday. And there's our extended forecast with pretty quiet weather. Again, mild. You see next week, a little wintry mix Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. I wouldn't worry too much about it, though. Not a whole lot going on. Just kind of cloudy next few days.
A quiet weekend. All right. Thanks so much, Joe. We're going to take another break, but sports director Harrison Beebe will have a look ahead to hometown highlights. He'll have a preview of everything he's covering tonight at 11 in just a few minutes. Harrison will have another hometown highlights for you tonight at 11. He's already busy getting some games right now, but luckily he pre-recorded a little segment to give us a preview of what we can expect at 11.
As we count down a tip-off for our final Friday night of basketball for the regular season before districts begin Monday, we got a noteworthy achievement to pass along. Buckley senior Landon Kleviak scored 33 points, 8 rebounds, and 5 steals in last night's win over the Kingsley Stags, and that allowed him to surpass 2,000 career points and move into 46th all-time in MHSAA history for career scoring. We spoke to Landon earlier today about the achievement and how he says his teammates are a big reason he got there.
You know, hitting this right before districts is the perfect time because I don't want to be going into districts, having it in my head, you know, throughout the game. Should I hit this? When am I going to hit it? How many points am I at? You know, because by the time districts comes, we got to be playing as a team. And if it's in my head that I'm close to this goal, then it's going to be in the team's head too. So now that I hit it the last regular season game against Kingsley, I think we can prepare way better on Monday for our district game against Suns Bay. It's a cool accomplishment. You know, when I graduate, looking back on it, it'll be like pretty cool. But I play this team because we're a family. I, you know, help others. If I worry about my own goals, then there's nothing I can do to help the team because I'm focusing more on myself than others. So if I help them, they can help me back. And that's why, you know, I've got this, I hit this milestone is because of my teammates.
Of course, down in Kalamazoo, we had high school wrestling state quarterfinals going down in Division 4. We know that Charlevoix and Roscommon were in the field. Unfortunately, both the Raiders and Bucks fell short in that quarterfinal pairing, but a great season for them to make it all the way down to the state quarterfinals in Kalamazoo against some of the best in Division 4 high school wrestling. Tonight is the night we get the first of 2 meetings on the season between Michigan and Michigan State in Big Ten basketball. That game will tip off at 8 o'clock tonight. That'll do it for sports.
And Harrison will have all those highlights for you coming up tonight on Up North Live News at 11. We're going to take one more break, but we'll be right back in just a few minutes. Don't go anywhere.
Salon services are furnished by Epiphany Advanced Academy in East Acme.
No question of the day for us tonight. So that will do it for Unscripted on this Friday evening. Thank you so much for joining us. I hope you all have a wonderful weekend, and we'll see you back here on Monday. Take care, everyone.